I was enjoying everything so much I lost track of time. That, by the way, is something that we should be aware of. That when we are invited into the sacramental life, especially over these 3 holy days, the Triduum, the Last Supper, the Passion and death of Jesus on the cross, the resurrection, and then the beginning of the proclamation that Jesus is risen. You have to remember that these are things that are eternal, done once and for all, the sacrifice of Christ. And when he said, "Do this in memory of me," it was meant to be something that would be a command to all his followers till the end of time. And he also said, "Behold, I am with you always, even till the end of time." So we get to see in this priceless, precious blood and wine and bread a continuation into our lives of something that was done thousands of years ago, but is still having its generous effect. And so it's a mystical moment. It's a transcendental moment. It's a time where in time and space we transcend time within our lifetime. And we are brought both back into the saving mystery of Christ, and we then look forward into the final coming of his kingdom. Remember, in the Passion, he says, "Take this and eat, take this and..." In the Last Supper, before his Passion, he says, "Take this and eat, take this and drink, for I tell you, I will not eat of the fruit of the vine again until the kingdom of God." So we are moved into something beyond ourselves, and yet something that also is so succinctly who we are, because we are believers. We are called to be disciples. And when Jesus gives us the command in the Last Supper, "You call me Lord and Master," and that is so. "But if I have done this for you, so also you must do this for one another." Don't you love the part where Peter says, "Lord, you're never going to wash my feet"? You know, and he says, "Well, if I don't, you will have no share in the kingdom." Well, not just my feet, my head, my hands also. Peter was really ready to do whatever was necessary to get him to the kingdom of heaven, except die. "I will go with you and die with you. Will you, Peter?" Jesus says. "I tell you, before the cock crows, you will deny that you even know me 3 times. So that's why this is so important. In here is the fullness of life. In here is forgiveness. In here is, our being washed from our sins, through which we deserved death. But Jesus took his place on the cross, taking our place. I was reading in the paper today about a woman who had received word that she was in her 30s, and they said, you have a terminal illness. The cancer is a rare cancer that we cannot do anything about. We could try to prolong your life by chemotherapy and so on. And she thought about this for a while, and then she said, "No, I want to," and you'll be able to find this, "I want to take whatever time is left to me and not have anything interfere with the quality of that life, simply to extend the length of that life." And so she left a testimonial in writing her own obituary to tell people something that you hear all the time, but which we almost never remember to put into practice. Make every moment count. In fact, what she said was, live a little. Live a little. And Jesus says, "I have come that you might have life and have it to the full." Not just living a little, but living fully, living completely. And what that means is living not for ourselves, but for others. Occasionally we will run across the experience of finding that when we do something for someone else, something comes back to us that often is way out of proportion to whatever the effort was that we expended or extended to the person that was in need. It's true, isn't it? Very much true. And don't you find that it almost is an amazing thing that something so simple should be so true for all situations? You wonder why the world hasn't become a much better place, because you would think something like this would catch on. To have life and to have it to the full. Make every moment count. Live a little. And, there was some poet who said, I wanted to confront the essential things of life so that when it came time for me to die, I had not found that I had never lived. So here's what this Eucharistic table is. It's a gift of Christ, a gift of God's Son, only begotten Son, which shows the Father's love for us, so that we might understand that in being fed by God, we then are able to become a new creation and to go and feed one another with the things of God. That's the whole purpose of this. Do this in memory of me. When he says do this, he doesn't just mean break the bread and drink the wine. He means do this, do all of this. Kneel down. Take the sandals off of the feet of people who have had long journeys. Wash their feet. And then take care of one another. Do this in memory of me. Do all of this in memory of me. Sadly, sometimes we take what Jesus railed against the scribes and Pharisees in doing. We sometimes take that to heart in place of putting our whole heart into our response to God. What he said is, these people pay me lip service, but their hearts are far from me. If we really did understand that Jesus steps into my place and your place when we are caught in the snare of death and says essentially, friend, let me take your place. If that could not or would not be life transforming, then I think we would not have within us the capacity to give thanks. And that's what the word Eucharist means. FrGerry in the Greek, Eucharistia, thanksgiving, to give thanks. What are we giving thanks for? The gift of life. The gift of life fully and abundantly and eternally. The woman who had a short life wound up saying, it has been short, but it has been damn good. Damn good. And in fact, if you look in terms of the length of history, the amount of time that human beings have been on this world, on this planet, in community, planting, sowing, reaping, each generation coming to make its own way, then even if you or I live to be 100, it goes by quickly too, doesn't it? My father told me the older you get, the faster things go. And it was one of the truest things he ever told me. Besides, when you see someone coming towards you in a car and they have their blinker on, don't trust it. You don't know if that person knows they have a blinker on. And I have found, as a child, I ridiculed that. I thought, who would leave their blinker on? It's making a noise. But I have a car that's fairly modern now, and occasionally it speaks to me and says, blinker is on. And then I remember, oh yeah, right, I'm really not paying much attention. I'm going in a certain direction, but I'm not really completely connected with everything. And so this is why the Eucharist calls us back to a fullness of life. You know, one of the most beautiful things I like about this evening? As families, aren't you always trying to get everybody to be nice to each other? I mean, I don't mean this is a daily, grind, but it is so easy, isn't it? My sister used to tell me about when I'd be sitting at the table at Thanksgiving or Christmas or Easter, and my two nephews would be holding hands with each other as they said grace, and I thought, what a holy family. How wonderful, how blessed this is. Until then, my sister told me that what happened is the older one was squeezing the younger one's hand really hard. which explained why he would be grimacing during the prayer. I thought he was so moved by it. One time we had an Easter egg hunt, and we said, oh, bring eggs and boil them, take eggs, buy eggs, boil them, dye them, and bring them. And we must have had easily 100 dozen eggs. And then they hid them. And my heart was so full over the joy that we were going to be sharing an Easter egg hunt with the youngsters on Easter Sunday. And then I saw it all go wrong. What happened is the bigger kids ran and got all the other eggs that the little kids could not get. The little kids started to cry. When we ran out of eggs, I went back to the rectory and we got the eggs that we had dyed and we're sitting on our table. And I would put one down and say to this little one, here, it's right here. And he'd be looking up at the sky. And darned if when his parents, his mother and father were going, no, over here, over here. When he finally looked down, a 5th grader came running in, snapped it up. And then I could see a little one start to cry, and Mother says, don't worry, we have some at home. And I thought, oh, this is not the way it's supposed to work for faithful people. And yet, we're so human. And then I saw another family where they pulled up the van, and the kid was crying so hard, so piteously, so copiously. I heard the mother turn to the child and say, get in and I'll give you something else to cry for. And I thought, this did not go the way I thought it was going to go. I felt so bad that I said, why don't we have an Easter egg hunt on Easter Sunday? So then what happened is afterwards, we had sections cordoned off for toddlers, wobblers, others. We even said, no more than 4. And then we said, and if you get one of each color, you get an extra prize. Still didn't work. So anyway, when we sit down at table, Christ is present. When we gather as a community, Christ is present. But we have to remember that this is the engagement that God is inviting us into. This is the holy exchange. The bread and wine becomes Christ's body and blood. And then we become Christ's disciples. And in parts of the Mass it says, may we become what we receive. So that would be my wish for all of you. May we become what we receive. May we actually be the embodiment of God's love. May we be selfless. May we take this life that is passing through our fingers like sand so quickly and try to make, if not every moment count, live a little. And in the kind of life that God is calling us to. Happy Holy Thursday.
Now let's do it in Portuguese, okay? Para nosotros, el Jueves Santo es justamente el aprender el servicio que Jesús nos pide que hagamos. No solamente nos alimentamos con su cuerpo y con su sangre que Él nos da en la Eucaristía, así como el sacerdocio, pero nos enseña que hay que servir. Y servir significa saber ser humildes. Sin humildad no se sirve, sin humildad no se ama. A veces uno dice, ay padre, sí, yo le puedo lavar los pies, pero con agua hirviendo, ¿cierto? Eso no es amar. No hay solamente que lavar los pies, hay que besarlos. Porque eso significa justamente la sencillez del amor, en donde nosotros sabemos que tú también eres importante. Pedro, cuando Jesús le dice que si no, eso es lo que Jesús le dice a Pedro, si tú no dejas que yo lave tus pies, no tienes parte conmigo. Se tú no sabes servir y amar, tú no tienes parte conmigo. Lavar los pies, servir con amor, es tener parte con Jesús. Y eso es lo que celebramos esta noche. Celebramos que en el servicio vivimos el amor de Jesús que se entrega por nosotros y nos alimenta con la presencia de su cuerpo y de su sangre. Por eso en esta noche vamos a llevar para nuestros hogares, nuestros corazones, nuestras familias, que debemos servir en el hogar, servir a los vecinos, saber servir con amor.